To jump to the last item on the agenda, we'll take up the matter of an application for a secondhand motor vehicles license, used car dealer, Class 2. This is an application filed by Al Assad Deeb, doing business as Brothers Auto Sales for premises at 700 Broadway, an open lot approximately 3,760 square feet, with an office in an adjacent building approximately 600 square feet.
Introduce yourself for the record, please.
My name is Al Assad Deeb.
We're kind of looking at this, and have you been in the used car business before?
We're doing it right now.
I'm sorry?
Yes, we're in the business right now. We're doing it right now.
You're doing it right now. How are you doing it without a license?
No, I do have a wholesale license.
You have a wholesale license?
Yeah.
Okay.
I work for somebody right now.
Okay. Where are you in relationship to the, I'm looking at it, you're on Broadway. Is the paint store right next door to you?
The paint store?
Yeah.
It's.
I'm trying to figure out exactly where you're at here.
It's an auto parts store.
It's an auto parts store? An auto parts store next door to you?
Yes, the paint store is on Broadway.
Okay, how,
My office is going to be inside.
yeah, in the thing. I
Inside it.
understand that from the drawing here. This here, you call it a lease. I look at it and I say it's an agreement to rent for 30 days. It kind of bothers me that this reads December 1st to January 30th, which is 30 days. 60. Huh? 60. Excuse me, 60 days, math was never my big point. Okay, so, can you explain that? I mean, I just don't, in 60 days, you pack up and go?
No, the landlord, he wanted to make sure that, instead of signing a year lease with us, he wants to do it so as a benefit for me and him. In other words, he doesn't want anyone there that just gonna come in overnight and go. He wants to make sure.
Yeah, but if he wanted you to do that, I would think he would tie you into at least a one-year lease. I mean, right now, the way you are, you're working on basically 30 days.
Well,
You got 60 on this, but once the first of the year goes by, what are you going to do? Every 30 days, you're going to rent him, and you can pack up and leave without... I mean, I read this thing. It doesn't look to me like...
the way he phrased it, it's tenant at will.
Right, so you can leave when you want.
Well, I mean,
Just don't
I
think
have no
it's-
intentions of leaving.
Right, but...
You know what I mean?
I have no intentions of seeing you leave, and people get stuck with a bum car.
And
How
also,
long have you been in this business?
about a year now.
And you've been wholesaling
Correct.
to other used car dealers?
To auctions.
You've been wholesaling, well, how do you get your cars to where do you get your cars from that go to the auction?
I have a little lot that I store them, but not in Lowell. See, sir, if you read through the agreement also, it says, I think middle of the paragraph, it says, after that, it's going to be a 6 months lease.
You really got me you've got a little lot that you're selling cars from. Or you take it, well, yeah, that's the problem. You can't explain it to me, and I can't understand it. So
No,
neither
no.
one of us are going down the same road on the same way. You're getting cars from somebody. You're
No.
either dealing in cars and taking in trade-ins.
No.
No.
No, what we
Okay.
do,
Where do the cars come from that are on your little lot?
we have access to the auction. We work under someone. And we are,
Access to the auction without a used car license?
as a wholesale, yeah. As a wholesaler.
Is that possible? I thought you had.
The only way anyone can enter into a car auction is you have to have a Class 2 license, or a Class 1, or a Class 3, as a used car agent, dealer, or junk. This gentleman, I don't follow his logic as to the wholesaling, because many a wholesaler will have to have a local license
Right.
to conduct business with the car auction and with the other dealers.
Do you have a set of dealer's plates?
Say again?
Do you have a set of dealer's plates?
No.
No, okay. How do you move these cars?
By trucks, by tow trucks.
Do you have your license on you?
I don't have a dealer license. I work for someone. I'm a rep. I'm a rep.
Who do you work for?
Nick Johnson,
Out of where?
out of Arizona.
Arizona?
Uh-huh.
I'm not trying to be difficult, but I mean, to me, it just doesn't add up. You know, maybe you get a used car license in Arizona, but as far as I'm concerned, you're dealing. I don't even know how you can do that with a license from Arizona.
No, I don't have a license, sir.
He has it.
He has
You're
it.
using his license.
I'm working under him. He's my boss.
Okay, so you go get a car and it's a lemon, and the people say you wholesale a car out of the lot and it's a lemon, and the dealer says, "Hey, I want my money back." What do you tell him? "Oh, I work for a guy in Arizona. You got to go see him."
No, but see,
It
as a wholesaler, you can't sell to the public.
Well, you're looking at a 3,700-foot lot, so it'd probably be about.
it just I understand that. I'm talking about you're saying you're wholesaling cars to dealers. Isn't that what you said? Isn't that what he said? I guess I misunderstood.
Well, let me, as I understand the process, Mr. Johnson, he's acting as an agent for, is looking for somebody like Mr. Thebe to conduct his business, Mr. Johnson's business, in the state of Massachusetts. The only way Mr. Thebe can accommodate Mr. Johnson in the state of Massachusetts is that Mr. Thebe has to have a local license in order to be able to take Mr. Johnson's cars from the state of Arizona into the state of Massachusetts and have those cars available at the car auction. The car auction promoters, managers, will not allow Mr. Thebe to bring the cars in unless he has a license from City of Lowell, Town of Dracut, Town of Barica, wherever he can get a local license from.
You got, what do you, I don't like it.
Can I see this for a second? Is the application there?
Yeah. I'm not trying to be difficult or anything, and I certainly am more than, happy as far as I'm concerned to welcome a new business to Lowell and to see people, open businesses and prosper. But you know what, I have a really hard time with it. You're gonna be basically a front for this guy in Arizona. That's all you're gonna be. You're gonna be a front. You're gonna bring cars in, if they're no good, then you're not responsible for them. You don't have to maintain the facility. All you're gonna do is use this license to bring the cars in. After that, you're done.
No, can I jump in?
Sure.
I don't think I'm explaining myself correctly. The gentleman in Arizona is basically, I'm working for him. Once I get my dealer license from the city of Lowell, I'm no longer gonna be working for him. I'm gonna be working for myself. So the gentleman in Arizona right now has nothing to do with what I'm trying to do in Lowell. If the city of Lowell granted me the license, I will not use that guy in Arizona anymore. I'll have my own retail license, which will enable me to go to the auction and buy and sell to the public.
Okay.
It's a little different than what he's.
No, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I also did take a look at the lease, and it says it's a 60-day lease with 30 days' notice to quit. It doesn't say it's a 6-month lease. It doesn't say it's 6 months renewals. It's 30 days. So it's a month-to-month lease, starting in January.
So
If he told you it was a 6-month lease, you were misinformed on that. The language of it says that it's 60 days and renews for 30 days each time thereafter.
So if I understand you correctly, it should have said a year lease?
It does say at the end of 6 months, the lease, but.
Right.
but
It says
term
at the end of
lease
6
is
months,
only
but the
60
term of the lease
days.
is only 60 days, right? Which means that basically somebody downloaded a form offline, changed it, and didn't get
Exactly.
everything right.
Right.
Exactly. And the problem there is he can come back to you in those 30 days and double the rent.
Say again?
He can come back to you when the first 60 days are up, he can double the rent. Because you have nothing guaranteeing.
Mr.
know what I
Thieb, you live in Lawrence now?
Yes, I do, sir.
How long have you lived in Lawrence?
6 years now.
6 years. And where were you before then?
I was in Tewksbury.
In Tewksbury. So you're familiar with the Greater Lowell area?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I think the concern of the board is that, looking at this lease being only 60 days, you get a license, you put some cars on the lot, you sell them, and then you're gone, and no one knows where to find you, and the consumer has bought a, you know, I'm not saying you're gonna sell bad cars, but if they do, they're not gonna have any recourse.
So-
And this lease doesn't provide any assurance that you're gonna be at that lot.
I tried bringing this up with the landlord, which I met with, and he basically said the reason he's doing it is because he had bad experience in the past with tenants. So as a landlord, he wants, if someone gives him a hard time, which I know I'm not gonna give him a hard time, but he doesn't know me, I don't know him.
A hard time is a two-way street.
Right. He doesn't know me, I don't know
Happen from
him.
his side as much as it can happen from your side.
Exactly.
You're putting yourself in a very, very precarious situation, okay? And you're asking this board to do something that I can't speak for them, myself, but I personally feel is wrong, okay? You need, you've changed the story, and I'm gonna say, okay, you want this license so you can open up a used car lot, and you're gonna get your own cars from the auction and open up a used car lot. Your experience in doing that, how many used car lots have you run?
None.
You have never had a used car
None.
lot, okay? There's a whole different set of rules that it comes into when you're selling cars to the public. Plus, you gotta post a bond with the city and, the whole thing. I tend to agree with both my fellow commissioners that I think you've got something here that was downloaded, and that they tried to make, one size fits all, and unfortunately, a lot of times it doesn't work. Just the way, I don't know, the way it's put together.
I don't wanna discourage any
I wanna-
business from coming to the city of Lowell, but what made you choose this location?
To be honest with you, I've been looking around.
Yeah.
And I had a realtor who's working for me, and she kept her eyes open. This particular property popped up. We looked into it. I met with the landlord. He seemed to be a nice enough guy. We met with him. We hammered out the details. When I picked up the lease, I did mention to him that there's a speculation in there which it's vague, and he said to me, as long as there is an intent for the rental, you should have no problem. Because at the end of the day, the property is yours, dependent on the outcome of the permit, of the license.
And how many vehicles do you plan on having?
I told him I'm not looking to start big. I know, he said you only can have 4 cars overnight, 2 cars on each side. So on any given night, overnight, it's going to be only 4 cars as a start.
Well, let me just ask you a couple of just common, what I call common sense questions.
Sure.
Why am I gonna buy a car from you and not buy it from him?
Because I know what kind of cars do I buy.
Excuse me?
I know what kind of cars I have.
don't know that.
I have,
Why am I gonna go to you and buy a car?
because
99% of the time, you're gonna go to somebody that you know. Somebody that's a part of the community, somebody that you've met at community functions, somebody that's involved in the community, somebody that has a community reputation of being, a nice guy, or, whatever you wanna call it.
Right.
The point I'm trying to make is, you're talking about coming into Lowell, you don't know anybody. You don't know anybody in the city of Lowell. You had 7 years in Lawrence, and I'm gonna say right up front, and I'm not trying to push business to Lawrence, but why didn't you look at Lawrence? That's where all your friends are, aren't they? Or you don't have any friends?
because this is where my realtor was looking.
Yeah, but you know what? You get a realtor, she gets paid if she puts you in Alaska, for crying out loud. It doesn't matter. She don't have to take you to Lowell. You say, look, I know all these people in Lawrence. I want to get a used car lot where I know people can, and I can say, hey, Frank, come over.
But
I got a great Beamer for you. Come on over
I
here.
like Lowell. I went to school in Lowell.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I know Lowell very well. I went to UMass Lowell in 1992. I graduated for the economics major. I'm familiar with
I
the
think,
city.
number one, you need a new broker. Well, I'm not being a wise guy. I think number one is, I shouldn't say it, but I always thought the real estate people negotiate the lease, don't they? Or does the, hello? I don't know.
Personally, I wouldn't have a real estate broker negotiate anything.
Okay. The point, well, you know, from the mouths of babes, right? You know,
But that's just me.
Can I say something?
Yes.
You said earlier that I changed my story. I'm sorry, earlier I could not really tell you, maybe just nervousness on my part. I could not really express to you what I want to do. Basically, it sums it all up. Now I'm working for a guy
Yeah.
that I want to be out of this guy. I want to do things on my
I can
own.
concur with you on that. Let me tell you something right now. We've given out many used car licenses over the years. You are not going to make a living on 4 cars. It can't be done. We've had time and time again, people come in and say, just give me a couple of cars. And no, you cannot make a living on 4 cars, you know, so I think you need to take a look. If you want, I'll make a motion to continue this rather than deny it. And you can sit down and revamp this thing, or, you know, maybe seek legal counsel or something to have somebody kind of sort this out for you.
As far as the lease, you mean?
If you've been in the business, you have to realize you can't make a living on 4 cars. And I'm not going to have people out in the city of Lowell saying, you know, those dummies up at the licensing board gave this guy a license and I got stuck with this car, and a week later he's gone. You know, it's just, I'm not going to be a part of it.
But Mr. Commissioner, I mean, you don't know me. I don't know you.
That's right.
But I'm not like that. I'm not gonna sell
Sure,
someone
I'm
a
sure you're
car
not.
that I know it's a lemon.
I'm sure you're not, and that's why if you want, I'll make a motion to continue it. Other than that, I'll make a motion to deny. Which would you rather do?
Continue.
I make a motion to continue this.
second.
And it's seconded. Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
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 Thank you, guys.
No, I'm not, we won't pin a date on you. You've got to go sit down and sort this out.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
let us know what day you want to come back on, or just contact
Right, you just-
Mr. Nguyen.
So if I come up, I'm sorry, I'm for interrupting you. If I come up with a lease it's not vague, it's black and white, and say, let's say December 1st till 2011 till December 31st, 2011, that would be sufficient with you guys?
2012.
I'm sorry, 2012.
Yeah.
2012, okay.
But also have them look around. There is a number of used car lots in prominent places around that are,
Mr. Commissioner, the reason I know what you mean to me that 4 cars is not going to make a living, but for the start, I don't want to start big, to be honest with you. I don't want to start big.
But look, can I just, what can you do with the used car license? If you're just selling for, can you use the license to get cars from Arizona into the Commonwealth?
Yep.
I can sell them any state I want. I can take the cars from auction to auction like I'm doing right now with a retail license. So I'm not only limited to selling to the public, I also can sell to dealers and the auctions as well.
Okay,
Okay. All right.
all right. Well, it seems like you have a better grasp of the business then than some of the people who've come into us.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
We'll just continue it. Let Mr. Nguyen know when you want to come back on the calendar, okay?
Okay, so I'll get back to you, Mr. Nguyen?
what?
I'm sorry, what?
Gonna get back to Ryan.
Yeah, you
Yes,
just get
yeah,
back
we
to
we
Ryan.
didn't
Yeah,
set a
get in
date
the
for it.
office
We're
and set a
continuing
date.
it until a date when you guys will put it back on.
Sounds good.
Look at it,
All right,
yep.
Thank you, thank you.
Next on the agenda.
Commissioner will now take up the matter opening a hearing on an allegation of misconduct against the licensee known as Bex Inc., doing business as Brian's Ivy Hall, Kevin Hayhurst, manager, the licensee for all alcoholic beverages restaurant at 74 Merrimack Street. The matter being a sound system for entertainment on the licensed premises is disturbing neighborhood residents. Mr. Chairman, there are a number of police reports, calls to the police department that go back to May 13, 2011 to approximately October 16, 2011. The board may have had an opportunity to review some of those reports or calls to the police department as to whether they were calls for disturbance because of sound, or it may have been calls because of some other matters relating to the business itself, but not of which the License Commission may be looking to address at this time.
Introduce yourself for the record.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and fellow commissioners. My name's Attorney Michael Zame.
Mike, is it on?
Attorney Michael Zame. I
Okay.
represent Bex Inc.
Have you read the correspondence?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Do you want it read into the record?
No, we'll accept it as it is.
Okay. Why don't we start out and we'll see if any of the folks from the Molars, the loft, are here. We'll listen to them and then we'll go from there, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Anyone that'd like to speak, please? Please give your name and address.
Hi, Chandra Perry, Mullers, 33 Middle Street, Unit 4.
Aye.
Hi, again.
For the record, tell us just, we have some of your letters, and we've read them, and I'm sure that council has read them also. Tell us how it's been.
Well, Mr. Hayhurst has tried to work with me, and I will give him that. They built a wall, and he said they put in 18 inches of soundproofing. One of the last police reports, I actually called the police and had them come into my home. And the police officer stepped inside the door of my bedroom. It wasn't even next to the wall, and he could hear it. And he went back to Kevin and said, Kevin, telling him how frustrated he is and, how I'm always complaining and yada, yada. And the police officer put in there that he didn't feel, his opinion, it wasn't too loud for that time of night. It was after 10. 10 o'clock is the ordinance. I'm up at 4:30 in the morning. 10 o'clock is late for me. I've tried to work with him, and all I'm asking is that he be considerate enough to turn it down. Thursdays, and now he's doing Sundays. He's got a live band on Sundays, and he says, well, the music goes off at midnight. Well, on his Facebook page today, his own DJ put on there that after the band leaves, they're going to kill the place. So that's not true, and that's in the police report. He told the police officer that there's no music after midnight. And my complaint is just turn it down on weeknights. Yeah. I have to work. And, if they're doing it Thursday and Sunday, what about Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday? Am I going to end up living like this? I can't move. I own the place. I can't sell it. You know what the real estate market's like now. What recourse do I have? And, I have to take time off of work. And there were a couple of other people that were scheduled to come to the last meeting, but it was canceled and, whatever. But we have to live here.
Yep.
And I understand he's trying to make a living. I totally get all of that, but he's got to understand that there are people that have to make a living too. And, he says, well, it's off at midnight. Midnight to me, then I get 4 hours of sleep. Well, then at 2 o'clock, his bar backs are bringing out bags of bottles and stuff and throwing them into the dumpster, and that's clanging and banging until 2:33 in the morning. What's the solution there? And I'm willing to try to deal with the bottles and stuff, but the pounding music on Thursdays and Sundays is just, it's not fair. And I've never complained about Friday and Saturday, and let me tell you, they are hopping. As of his own words, over 500 people in the place. We're rocking tonight. I'm not trying to be unreasonable. I'm trying to live in my home comfortably. That's all I'm doing.
How many are you licensed to have in the building up there?
If I post that, it's on Facebook, and it'd be through the door, we don't all go over capacity.
Should address it at the
Well, I
Excuse
looked
me.
at one of your films today, and it said
Can
500.
we need to, it needs
Yeah,
to go
no,
on the
whoa,
record.
whoa, hey.
Echoes don't really pick
Yeah,
up on the
it's not an
mics.
argument, it's just, I mean, that was a simple, he didn't need to do that. A simple statement was, how many people? How many? 456. Thank you. Okay, 456, so, and he told you had over 500?
Well, he just posted on there that, yeah, we have over
Oh,
500 people
posted it,
tonight.
Okay, all right. You'll have your chance. Anybody else from the loft that wants to speak? Nobody else could come?
None of them could get the time off they had scheduled, and for whatever reason, they couldn't come in.
There was a period of time there, it seemed to me, that they had quieted down for a while.
I will give them that
And I
throughout the summer.
thought about it at the time when you told me that, and I said, you know, maybe they've, resolved the issue. Let's, Counselor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We were here, as you know, back, I believe it was very early in May of 2011, as a result of several noise complaints. When my clients left here that day, they didn't just take what you said and say, okay, well, you know, this is the License Commission, and we're just going to ignore what they said. They took what you said, they took it seriously, and they made several changes to the way they run their business. And some of those changes, in part, were based upon information that was brought up by yourself and brought up by Mr. Weicker during the last hearing. If I could approach you and show you some of the documents that reflect changes that they've made since they were last here to try to address some of these concerns, and I have a copy for.
Yeah, that guy's taking Brian's place. Okay.
Gentlemen, the documents I just gave you, all were put in place. Some were continued from before, and all have been implemented since they were last here. You'll see that there's a contract that all all people who work in either the DJ booth or come in as a band and are working with the sound where they sign an amplified sound contract. You'll see the governor on the sound board that prevents the music from being over a certain decibel level as read from the outside of the premises. You'll see the increased soundproofing efforts that were done. That wall, that's that 18 inches of soundproofing. That's an additional soundproofing since the last time they were here. They continue to hire police details, as you'll see from the reports that were turned over to you from the City of Lowell Police Department. And they'll also started decibel readings. And you'll see some of the decibel readings throughout the course of May, June, and July when they were coming up with those readings at those various levels. You'll see some of the notations next to them were by the police officer or sergeant, lieutenant, or captain who were working the detail, the private paid detail at the city, at Brian's Ivy Hall. What you have here is 2 noise complaints. Out of all of the documents you see that have been provided with the various police reports, there are 2 noise complaints. Both noise complaints emanate from Ms. Parry. One on September 15th of 2011, one on October 2nd of 2011. Dealing with all of the other issues, if I may, for a minute, all of the other police reports. And again, I go back to, there was a document that was presented to the City Council, to the Lowell Sun, in front of the Lowell City of Lowell Public Safety Committee, that the Chief of Police issued in a report saying all of the problems and all the disturbances and all the problematic bars that was loaded with a bunch of statistics. That statistics can be very misleading as though that report showed. There were 17 calls that they're talking about from, that came with the documentation and the package from the police department that Mr. Nguyen forwarded over to my client. And, you know, some of them have nothing to do with noise. And in fact, some of them had the person, instead of talking to the police officer, and he called Crime Stoppers, would be sending them a check for $250. Okay? The first one, this is tell you how what these kids are doing over there, where they're working. They're vigilant. They're paying attention to their business. They're making sure that the sound's monitored. They're making sure that the crowd's monitored. The first one is a bartender discovers somebody passing a counterfeit $100 bill. Police officer, they notify the police officer working the detail. Police officer makes an inquiry of the person. The person has all kind. He pays for with a counterfeit $100 bill. Has all kinds of other money in his pocket. Why he paid for a $5 drink with a counterfeit bill? You know, with all the other money he had in his pocket, it was clear to the police officer, and that person subsequently was charged with a criminal complaint for passing a counterfeit bill. The second one is somebody comes into the Lowell police station on a Tuesday and says, I think my purse got stolen last Saturday at Brian's Ivy Hall. And they put that down here as a complaint against Brian's Ivy Hall. The third one that they include in this, a disturbing the peace violation, okay? If you read the reports before submitting it over, they'd realize that that didn't happen at Brian's Ivy Hall. It happened at Olay. The reason Brian Ivy Hall is mentioned in it is because if you pay attention to the report, Officer Papaconstantino was working a paid detail at Brian's Ivy Hall and was able to respond to the neighbor Bob when they called for help. And he was able to go over and quell a disturbance, and ultimately the person got arrested. But that was from that wasn't from Brian's Ivy Hall. It was from Olay. So the 3 incidents right off the bat that don't have any bearing to do with my clients in noise complaints. The 4th and the 5th and the 6th, all the units, all these, they have nothing to do with noise, they have nothing to do with anything to do with Brian's Ivy Hall, showing that anybody who had anything to do with Brian's Ivy Hall was involved in any of the incidents. As you go through and look at the 2 noise complaints, they're both from Miss Parry. The first one came in when the Lowell Police had a detail working, when Brian's Ivy Hall had a Lowell Police detail working at the establishment. He received a phone call. The dispatch to the unit working it, and he went over and told Mr. Hayhurst that there was a complaint of the noise. Mr. Hayhurst went up. The sound was within their tested decibel level, and they turned it down. The second one is more concerning to me. The second one, Miss Parry says she called the Lowell Police. They went to her apartment. Now, you may recall, we've been asking all along, Mr. Hayhurst has been asking all along, let us come in, evaluate, listen for ourselves, see what you're complaining about. 2 police officers went to her home. The report, if you've read it for yourself, says they didn't think it was unreasonable. Nonetheless, they go to talk to Mr. Hayhurst. Mr. Hayhurst does, he turns it down. Ms. Parry's email later on that same night says that it was, again, now at 12:30 or 12:45, it happens again. There was no music on, okay? We have a member of the band that was here that night. There was no music after midnight. Yet she says there was a complaint. So, we've got text messages from her saying everything's good, everything's fine, everything's good. Kevin has continued to try to work with her by checking in with her on a weekly, they're saying, how has it been? Have you had any problems, any issues, any concerns? We'll answer any of your questions that you may have, but I think that these efforts have shown that they have taken serious measures. They have reduced the number of complaints. There's 1 person here today complaining, and with all due respect, is that where I grew up, okay, I grew up across the street from the Pine Street School. Pine Street School, my parents chose the neighborhood that we moved into because there was a good school system, provided the schools that were close by. But we knew that in the mornings you'd hear kids, going to school, you'd hear recess bells, dismissing kids in and out of recess and coming back in from recess, and you'd hear, kids getting out of school. Like I said, is that Mr. Bayless, you yourself appeared before the Public Safety Committee. She didn't buy a house next door to a cemetery. She bought a house in the heart of downtown. My clients have been, every effort they've given, if there's anything more that they think they can do, any other soundproofing, whether it to her own, they're willing to do that. They're at just as much of a loss. The only person complaining is Ms. Parry. And the ordinance, the rule is that it should be the disruptive conduct excuse me one second, of the general neighborhood. This is the general neighborhood isn't here complaining. There's 1 person. And again, given that the fact that the police were in there and found it not to be unreasonable, would certainly support that my client's efforts are working.
Okay. It's just interesting that she did come before us at one point and said that it had calmed down considerably. And, all of a sudden, it kind of showed me at least, I think, and my fellow commissioners, that at least they had done something to change the format or, however they were operating. What is this? You got a picture here of a wall being put up. What? It's soundproofing?
Yes.
What's it made of?
I'm going to have to defer to Mr. Hayhurst.
It's just I'm Kevin Hayhurst, the owner of Brian's Ivy Hall, Bex Inc. It's just a 2x4 wall with insulation. It's actually used kind of acoustically to absorb. It doesn't really have any much ties to that wall, so the wall doesn't push us through the next wall. And that 18 inches of soundproofing was put in the cavity of the window that we originally did before we opened. And we added this. What actually happened is I watched your meeting when she came the last time when I got the notice. And Mr. Occasion mentioned that, we've brought other bars in and had them do some. So we actually took that and went proactive, and we built that wall based on trying not to disturb her from that point until now. See if we can just at least damper that so it wasn't disturbing her. I know that was one of your issues as well, is making sure that we didn't just crank it until we came in here, knowing, we were proactive, me and Eric, that night, Tuesday night. I have my contractor's license. I didn't need the permit for that wall. It's just a partition wall. We just put up the 2x4 wall, put insulation in it, and put the soundboard on as well. And we kind of just blended in so we didn't have to mess with really the city, with destroying that room at all. It's just a partition wall. And it's used almost like a drum where it just kind of absorbs. It's supposed to absorb sound more than it's supposed to, because if you tie it to the other wall, it's just going to push through.
I just
keep
wonder why
carrying.
you didn't use something like, like egg cartons or something. That's what they use in a.
Well, we actually have, there's actually a lot of stuff, because we
Absorbs
actually.
a lot of sound.
We had the original one designed by an architect, and we had extra, there's rubber that goes between when you do tie something, it's like a bushing almost.
Yeah.
So, and there's also a green glue that absorbs, it does the same thing. There's a lot of thought, as much as it's a simple wall, it was kind of a Band-Aid before we got here to try to help out, that sound.
Can you explain this picture to me?
Yeah, that's our soundboard, and if you see, it goes up to number 10. We actually have, I have a thing there set at 5, so they can't go above a certain amplified.
And you put a stop there, so.
Yeah, they can't slide that. If you see it's on a slide, they can't go above that, where that is.
All right, and then another question I had was relative to the decibel levels.
Yep,
You have here, you have a
decimal meter, yep.
meter, okay. And I notice it only goes up to July, but it seems like most of the readings are in the mid-50s to low 60s.
Correct. What happened was we were starting to lose details because of summer. They were all on vacations. If we didn't get details, we would have them come in after their shift at like 12:30 to close to 1 in the morning. So that's why a lot of those blank spots were missing. And we were going for that period without any complaints, so it kind of just died out because we weren't having details to go in back and sign off.
It'd be good if you started.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And then the other question I have for you is, at the end of the night, what do you do with your trash or your beer bottles? How do you dispose of those?
We put in the dumpster in back, which is right underneath her window. Unfortunately, we don't have much of an option. I can't leave all that, the swill at the bottom of the bottles, all that stuff. I really can't leave it.
Okay, you put it in plastic bags and then put
We
it out
do,
in the
but
morning.
it's gonna get, we actually discussed that with her. I don't know how much of a problem that is. Our bar backs now are told to place them in the dumpster instead of just throwing the bags in. I mean, is that still?
To be honest with you, I haven't heard them.
Okay.
We've made every effort, it's,
I mean, me personally, I feel for Miss Perry because, I can't imagine, trying to sleep, getting ready for work and having a disturbance. But I also see that Brian's Ivy Hall has, taken some positive action, without us asking you to put in this soundproofing, to rig your soundboard, to get the decibel meter, to have the detail officer sign off on it. And I know we say this all the time, when people complain that the meetings are at 3 o'clock, and Chairman Bayless always says if it's that important, they'd be here. And Ms. Perry is taking time out of her day, and I applaud her for that, but there's no one else here. So.
And that's a problem, because that's where it ends up, and I can appreciate, this lady has written some nice letters, not sarcastic or belittling, right? All she's doing is asking for some relief. She has a long day that she puts in. You've gone to Sunday and Thursday. Now you're hitting 2 working days, Monday and Friday. Let's talk about that, okay? Obviously, if you don't take the trash out until the morning, even if you got some barrels or something and kept it inside, and then in the morning took it down when, it certainly would be a help. And obviously it has been because, and she's the first one to admit She was the first one to admit the last time she was here that you had made great strides. And she said that all of a sudden everything seemed to calm down. And, you know, she actually, if I remember correctly, because I kind of got a kick out of the way she started the letter, she said, regretfully, I think the letter started, regretfully, I come to you again. And I genuinely think she means that from her heart. She's not looking to hurt anybody. But let's talk about Thursday and Sunday night. Okay? What's you know, what would be a reasonable time, knowing that, you know, it's not the weekend?
We purposely did stop the band at midnight. I mean, to me, midnight's early, but I know my business is different. We purposely did, and the leader of the band is here, we purposely have them go off at midnight because of Miss Perry. Obviously, I'd rather have the band play till 2. We get busy after, you know, say 11 anyway. I purposely have them go off with the amplified sound at midnight. You know, I've actually made that. I mean, I can adjust. Thursday, we're a very busy night. I don't think the DJ affects her as much. How's the DJ been Thursday? I haven't heard from you on Thursdays at all.
Yeah.
4.5 hours of sleep. I have 2 jobs. And
I mean, the problem that I have with the sound is, I think midnight's late too, but I understand where they're coming from. I mean, that's when
That's
their
where the kids
business
are.
is. I mean, that's the time. And
That's when us old folks go home. And all these young guys are out.
right. But
When was the last time you were out till midnight?
I wasn't, believe me.
you know, I do give them credit though for taking these remedial steps.
Oh, I do too.
Steps to
You know, and as I say, part of the thing is that, like, you know, and I was just kind of hoping that there was some way you guys can meet on this, because, as I said earlier, I mean, she
Is there
really
a way, though?
complimented you coming into
Is there a
this.
way we can meet on this? I've taken a ton of steps myself.
Right.
You can see that. I don't think she's made any steps to make this any better. Move your
Why
bed.
don't you okay, that's a question. Okay, stop.
We're not gonna
Why don't
do a
you let him
debate here.
into- No, whoa. What can you do? They say they have consistently asked you if somebody could go up to the apartment. If they had a police escort go with somebody from their place, would you let them in the apartment?
I let the police into my apartment, and they went over there and said, well, we don't think it's allowed. It's after 10 o'clock.
We're not talking,
Inside of the bedroom door, wait a minute, inside the bedroom door, my bed's up against the wall.
Yeah.
It's good at this side of the bedroom,
yeah,
and they could hear the music.
yeah.
On the other side of the room, it's not up against the window.
Well, wait a minute now, well, you know, I can hear the train, and I'm up on Lincoln Parkway. I'm not trying to be a wise guy or anything like that. I can hear the train on Lincoln Parkway on the right night, and I love the sound of the train, so I'll go out, you know. But, I mean, I'm just using that by, the sound carries. My question was, they have asked you, or they said they have asked you, if they could go into the apartment to try. Okay. Is there a possibility that, is your bed up against the wall?
And I offered to move it, and his words to me were, quote unquote, you shouldn't have to. We had a phone
I agree.
conversation, and he said,
Okay,
you shouldn't
okay.
But you can still make that
He's-
effort.
Yeah. People, all right, but she offered to do it.
Okay.
Why don't you send a couple of guys up and move some furniture for
Absolutely.
her?
I'll go right now.
Okay?
And
No,
there was
but I mean,
another
you know,
option.
we're not here to hurt anybody.
Absolutely.
When you went into that place, everybody on this board, I remember it was like yesterday. We warned you.
Yes.
We told you. The place, I've been here, how long have I been here?
15 years.
15 years I've been here. 15 years, that place has been a constant problem besides these two guys. You know what I mean? So it's a lose-lose situation. But the point is that we warned you about that place. And Louis, what a beautiful ceiling, and I spent all this money. He didn't spend any money on the
Doesn't spend
place
money.
and didn't do it. The place needed to be something. So, so anyways, the point being is, it's little things like that. Take the trash out in the morning. Go over and move the furniture for her. Give her a call and say, can we come up and listen to see it? You don't know until you've actually, been there. Like I say, I'm on Lincoln Parkway and I can hear the train at night coming, the whistle of the train coming through. Some nights, it's quite loud. It just, I don't know whether it just depends on the atmosphere or the amount of moisture or whatever. But the point being is, that's how you get along. Is everybody
back window's on
trying
the
to
Bridge
do the
Street
same
Bridge.
thing? She is not trying to hurt you. I am not, blowing smoke at her. She's always been very polite. She was very complimentary towards you for that period of time that she claimed everything kind of calmed down and she thought everything was. So let's see if we can get back on track. Okay?
All right, now,
It's
what I
not
want,
our
what I
business.
want to suggest is those 6 months that there was no complaints, is we had our AC unit going and she had her AC unit going, which is a lot of white noise which drowns out the other noise. So this is what I would ask her as well is, they have white noise machines that are $30. I'll buy you one. You put in your apartment, there's just a small humming sound that also drowns out that kind of background noise. And it's just something, like I said, an effort on her part might be to try putting that in her apartment and try moving her bed, and she probably won't hear anything. And that's what I'm asking for, because I've invested probably $15,000 into the soundproofing, additional to what I did before at the architect chart.
I don't know if you'd try it, but if he's willing to buy it for you, what do you care, right? Try anything once.
Last weekend, I've had a lot going on, that's why I wasn't able to sell.
Yeah, he just didn't reply.
I've tried to work with him, yelling out the window, talking with you guys when they're building the.
Okay. So let's,
We've been working together, we have.
Okay, let's
Since
see
this
it
last
get
meeting,
together.
we've met quite a
Fortunately
bit.
or unfortunately, you're in that apartment for a while.
right. And then secondly,
Right.
do you go to, okay, do you go to that downtown business meeting? That you do, okay. Then you can bring them a message for me. Shame on them. Shame on them. For the pushing you out here to do this, and you're trying, and not one of them would get up off their ass, pardon the English, and come here and support you. Shame on them. They'll be the first ones to complain about the snow or this or that not being done. But don't ask me to give up any of my precious time. So you know what? The next time they start complaining, you say to them, look, I've done my part. I've done my part. I've been there. No, I know you are. But the point of the matter is that what the Attorney Zane was saying is absolutely true. It's one person complaining against, where's everybody else? And they're all going to be the first ones to call back talk and tear up the police department and tear up the commission. They don't do anything, and I'm so busy, rah, rah, rah. Well, tough luck, okay?
There were 2 other people that were available for the last meeting that was canceled.
Yeah.
And they couldn't, they just couldn't make it.
Do you want to, why don't, do you want to just, you want to give this a review maybe in 60
Let's
days,
continue
90
it for
days?
60 days. and see
You're
where
really
it goes.
heading into the tough, and I don't say this to give you an excuse, but I'm not that stupid either, I just look that way. You're really heading into the tough time with Thanksgiving and the holidays in the next couple of months, okay? That's not going to give you an excuse to go crazy. You're going to have to be that much more vigilant, okay? So as it stands right now,
Let's continue this to January 12th.
that's a motion?
Yes.
Second.
Seconded, all in favor say yes.
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 Okay? January 12th.
And
Thank you.
Look, I would just recommend, I came in ready to yell, but this is a good idea, okay? And I know that coming up, as the winter months hit, you're gonna have a lot more doors probably closed and heaters running, so, but I'd continue to keep the readings.
Yeah, and I think the decibel level, I know you guys are all from this area. The Holy Ghost Park, I know there's an outside, but they were in the neighborhood. They started doing this, and we don't get any complaints anymore
None at all.
because of this. If you keep vigilant on keeping the decibel levels in a certain reasonable range,
There is- We don't have a set level,
Is there a
correct?
set
There is no set level, but it's common sense. You go outside, you could, I mean, I think that this is reasonable. From the research that I've done,
And
being
that's,
in the low 60s, I think is pretty good. When you get up to the 68 and 70, I think that's high. That's my personal opinion from what I've looked at.
yeah.
The sound ordinances for the city, I have a copy of them here. There are levels that they state that they have to be within.
Yeah.
The attorney would like.
Mr. Solicitor?
ordinance prescribing maximum decibel levels for areas of the city, depending on the zoning designation of a particular property and the time of day. And the licensee is located in a downtown mixed-use district, and the local ordinance does provide for a maximum decibel level of either 50 or 55 decibels, depending upon the time of day. And the local ordinance sets out which maximum level corresponds to which time range. And there is built in a leeway of an additional 5 decibels above those limits for those particular time ranges.
So,
You have a copy of that?
55 to 60.
City
like
ordinance.
what you guys have here.
Do you?
We'll get one.
And there's also a provision of the local ordinance that provides that at no time anywhere can a decibel reading exceed 95 decibels for any more than 30 seconds.
So, from these numbers here, you guys are
Well
within
within
the
it.
threshold.
Well within.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Trying to, when you meet with them, give them a copy of that ordinance, okay?
Well, I can certainly mail it to you, give you a copy, whatever.
Well, they're gonna come and visit you in your bedroom,
But I only have,
so they'll give the neighbors something to
wait.
talk about.
Counsel, can you just get it from the law department?
We can get it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Attorney, there's a copy of the ordinance.
it does, I can download it from the net, that's not a big deal. I don't. I just brought one, I'm sorry. Am I all set? I just have to get to work.
You're all set.
No?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded, all in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. We're coming home, Benjamin, and don't make a lot of noise.